In the last FreeCAD tutorial, we designed a large box. That large box was printed with a 1mm nozzle and had some noticeable flaws. It had bulging, which was not unexpected, and it also had a little bit of a ridge line towards every single one of the corners where the print head was hesitating, which is interesting. However, none of that prevented it from doing its primary job, which was to hold all of my seafood in the freezer. Well, most of my seafood in the freezer, which it does quite well, so that will work just fine. However, to fix those problems, I want to add corrugation to the box and attempt to reprint and see if that straightens up the sides. So, in this video, we're going to go through a quick tutorial of how to add corrugation in FreeCAD. When we made this box, I showed you how we could use parameters to quickly and easily change the shape and details, critical features of the box using the parameters. We can go a step deeper than that because the spreadsheet function in FreeCAD allows you to use Excel-like functions to actually do some calculations, and that can make it even easier for you to make adjustments to your model. The idea here is you can change a dimension and it will automatically adjust your corrugation. You can tweak some of these features to get it to behave the way that you want it to look the way that you want it to, but it is always flexible. So let me show you how to make this. First thing I'm going to do is hide this and show just the body, and we're going to delete the chamfer. The reason being that should be done last, and it will have a very large processing penalty if you leave the chamfer on as you go through making the corrugation changes. So we're going to delete that, and we could go from the top, go from the bottom. It really doesn't matter. So just for simplicity's sake, a lot of times you model from the top, so I'll just show how that works. So we're going to go into part design, and we're going to, in FreeCAD, there are some quirks where first you want to click the tool and then you want to click what you're applying to. In other cases, you want to click what you're applying to it first and then click the tool. In this case, it's easiest to do it this way. So I clicked on the face, click off the face. Clicking on the face, you can create a sketch here, or it says face tools, create a sketch. All right, we'll do that. Thank you. So we're looking straight down from the top, and we're going to create the corrugation features. Now, in a different tool like Fusion 360, I might create corrugation features on one side and then mirror over. One of the quirks with this, however, is just making this a construction line so that it doesn't apply to the model. That's another thing. Fusion is much more forgiving. If your model isn't 100%, it can make inferences. FreeCAD does not make inferences. You have to tell it exactly what you want to do. That said, I mean, it's a very powerful tool, especially for one that is free. So, creating a construction line here, FreeCAD will not allow you to mirror non-cut or additive features, so it won't let you mirror like a linear pattern. So because of that, that's why I'm going to create the feature on both sides, cut it, and then make the linear patterns. There's a way to do everything in FreeCAD, it just might take a little bit longer. Alright, and I'm going to check to make sure these are actually attached. Because that can happen where you place the lines close, but they're not on. Ah, there's an example. So this would give you an error. If you left the sketch like this, it would create an error. Actually, I think I will create that error just so I can show you what it looks like. So if it ever happens to you, you'll know what to do. So just making this symmetrical real quick. Alright, and this is open. And to the tool, whether it's this close or this close, it doesn't know the difference. Okay. The other thing I'm going to do real quick, because this creates other problems, you have to have a single closed loop. I'm going to make this construction as well. So we're going to close. And when we hit the pad tool, everything disappeared. And if that happens to you, that is an indication that there is a problem. All right, everything shouldn't disappear like that. So we're going to go back into the sketch, and this is the problem. It's open like this. So we're going to close that like so. And now, let's see, when I hit this pad tool, not everything disappeared, right? The everything disappeared is it's showing you that there's an issue, right? So I'm going to finish creating the other side, and then we'll create all the geometry. So here I'm going to create my creation features. All right, you can merge cells, so that's a thing. I want to use this as my alias for this cell. So enter, enter. We're going to go in here, copy, click, paste, enter, enter. All right, so those are now referenced. We'll go back into the sketch, edit sketch, and we're going to create symmetrical for this feature and that feature to the line. I want to constrain this not because it needs to be constrained, but because constraining that will prevent us from having problems. If you scale models that are not fully constrained, you can have stuff break unexpectedly. Go back in here, far. This is the bottom. Enter. And now we're going to do this. And we're currently working on the width. CV depth. Okay, so now we've formed this and it's fully constrained. In something else like Fusion, at this point, I would make the cut and then I would mirror it over. But that won't work here. So we have to create exactly the same geometry on the other side. So let's bring these things up. So in check because it does not zoom. And that's moving white architectures. So that's 4 width. Right? And that's going to be let's see the difference. It's not zero. So it is R C and so they're both green, they're both constrained. We're going to hit close. You can see the features here. So now with the sketch selected, we can close that one. With the sketch selected, we're going to cut. And I'm going to go ahead and just tell it the whole height. All right, so now we have a feature cutting the full way through. Okay? So there's our corrugation. Not very helpful. It needs to be a whole lot more corrugation. So what we can do then is linear patterns. In order to do the linear patterns though, there's going to be a slight difference. So these V cuts we're going to use here and we're going to use on the ends as well. But we're going to make a distinction between the corrugation for the depth, which is here in the Y plane, again, we're going to select the top face, and this time we're going to select Create New Sketch on the top face. We're essentially just creating the same features that we did last time, going through the same process. Oh. Now, we want to make a difference or distinction between the features that are going to be calculated or computed for the depth and the ones that are computed for the width. Those are the ones that are aligned with the y-axis or the x-axis. So here, so the way I'm going to compute this is I'm going to use the depth divided by 2, because the linear instances I have to create two, one going each direction. So there's going to be one linear instance going this way and one going this way. So I'm going to do that minus, and this offset is to deal with the circular corner here. So I'm going to subtract is B15. You can do it based off of the alias, or you can do it based off of the cell name. Generally what I do is, if this is going to be used as a reference here in my function, then I want it to be yellow so I can tell that. But if I'm just using it to compute things on the spreadsheet, normally I use cell references. It doesn't matter, you can do it however you prefer. And we're going to call this one CD length. Enter. All right, number of instances. For this one, we're going to take the depth divided by, depth divided by spacing. So that's B14. All right, and that's going to give us a number. But we don't want a whole number. We want an integer, because you can only have an integer number of instances. So we're going to round it down. And let's name this as well. So it has an alias. Going to hit Control S, save everything. Now we'll begin our linear pattern. So this is for the depth. This is going in this direction. So I'm going to hit spacebar on that one, spacebar on this one. Here's the pocket that I want to work on. So on this pocket, we're going to create a linear pattern, and it's all kinds of messed up because it's here, and that's not right. So first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to change it to be consistent with the y-axis. Right, there we go. And so now you can see the feature. For whatever reason, yeah, this one will do this way, the next one will do the reverse direction. So here where it says length, all right, we're going to use CD length. And then here we're going to use CD instances. All right, divided by 2, because we're going to go both directions. So, ta-da. Now we're going to create exactly the same thing. However, we're going to flip directions. So here, and what I didn't do is I didn't change the axis that it was repeating on. So that looks terrible and not at all what we wanted. So going back into the axis, base y-axis. There we go. So now we have features on, I just want to grab him, both sides. So we'll do this one now. Okay. Okay, there we have it. Why all this extra math? Well, the idea is if you were to change the depth. So I did some measuring. I want to change the depth to 190. And the pocket broke. All right, what's going on with him? Okay. And this is where it all went wrong. I don't know exactly what broke or why. I recreated it a couple times, and it still broke in the exact same way when I attempted to change the size of it. I ended up removing auto remove redundance in the solver, and then I ended up having to recreate it without using the symmetrical feature, instead using a construction circle, which ultimately achieves the same thing. So I'll show you what I did that actually ended up working, and we'll skip all of the mistakes of getting nowhere in a hurry. Do what I have. See, there we go. Alright, I'm going to try an equidistant trick. We're going to use him right there to right there. And do this. And then do this. And that. And then or CV button. Right now. Right and close. Oh, forget. Yay! Finally. Oh, what a stupid problem to have. Okay, so we can turn our linear pattern back on, linear pattern back on. See if this one breaks. It didn't break. Okay, so where we were going in the first place until we had a side quest to fix the, and that's the kind of thing that happens in FreeCAD that often doesn't happen in other CAD systems. Fusion 360, SolidWorks, not had it break that way before for me. So anyway, so and then once again we'll go to the bottom, click, and chamfer. Now this will take a while. So change this to once again, we'll do the same thing we did last time, which is we'll select the body, go to mesh design, meshes. I did have a point once where this was completely grayed out. Basically, I had to save the file, close FreeCAD, open it up, and then I got these options again. So quirky, but it's free. Drop it in. Take a look, slice. And now we have a corrugated box. And the question is what he'll look like when he comes out. So I think 100 will be sufficient to see what the features are. Previously I saw the warping when it was about halfway done, which the last box is 200, so that should put us at 100. So that'll give us good information. Turned out fantastic. There's absolutely no signs of warping or any of the issues seen in the last larger box, and it works fantastic for its intended purpose. It's already in the freezer, chilling. That's it for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful.